Dear colleagues, dear friends, and I would say open source supporters today. It's a great honor and excitement to welcome you to the inaugural Open Source Software for Fusion Energy Conference. We called it OSSFE 2025. Today marks a significant milestone as we unite to explore and advance the integration of open source software within the fusion energy community. But before we delve into the day's proceedings, I would very much like to extend our very heartfelt gratitude to the organizing committee and the sponsors. The organizing committee worked tirelessly up until very late last night to bring this conference to life. You all have been instrumental in making OSSFE a reality. Now, some of our colleagues may be wondering, why do we have OSSFE? Do we really need yet another conference? Well, I believe that, I don't know how many we are today, 80 in the room. If you're here today, that means you're not the ones who need convincing. But I'll just give my brief personal point of view about open source in the realm of fusion energy. Over the years, I've personally noticed a very strong resistance to open source software in our fusion community, and maybe more generally to open science. And with discussions with colleagues, I believe that I'm not the only one. First, as a student, I remember my institution forbidding me to publish open source code, and I had to fight for a very long time to be able to publish my tools. Then later, as a researcher, I've been told that private companies will one day steal my open source tools and even make me pay to use them. I heard that some colleagues refuse to use open source software because it's always lower quality, and other misconceptions about open source. And finally, as a reviewer, I've often come across authors who simply refuse to share their data and analysis in research papers. And we've all probably laughed at the data available upon reasonable request statement in papers. And we all know that sometimes that means that this data is not available at all. Yet for some reason, many other fields of research don't seem to suffer from the same resistance to open source. If we look at the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, they launched the Open Source Nuclear Codes for Reactor Analysis (ONCORE) initiative in 2021. This initiative fosters international collaboration in developing open source multi-physics simulation tools, supporting research, education, and training in advanced nuclear reactor analysis. Initiatives like ONCORE exemplifies how open source frameworks can enhance collective capabilities and drive innovation in nuclear science in general. But they're not the only ones. We have other conferences, such as the Free and Open Source Software for Geospatial, the BioData Conference for Data Science, the Bioinformatics Open Source Conference. They all have demonstrated how open source initiatives can support their respective fields. But despite the critical role of software in fusion research, our community has lacked a dedicated platform to consolidate and promote open source development until now. We believe that OSSFE can fill this void, providing a collaborative environment to share tools, insights, and advancements that will really propel fusion energy research forwards. And hopefully much more in the future, but more on this later today. Today, our program features plenary talks with insights from leading experts in fusion energy and software development, technical sessions and presentations covering a spectrum of topics from plasma physics, neutronics, data, tritium transport, to practical applications in fusion research. There will be a very interesting panel discussion delving into challenges and opportunities in open source. I'm very much looking forward to that. There's a poster session with dozens of presenters running in parallel to a tutorial session with more than 10 demos. And maybe the most important is that OSSFE provides a lot of networking opportunities. You may have noticed that we try to design this virtual venue to facilitate connections amongst attendees, fostering partnerships and collaborative projects. The challenges of fusion energy are significant enough without restricting critical software. I see no quick route to fusion energy that relies on inaccessible software. The fastest route to fusion uses open source, open standards, and software being made today by you, the open source fusion community. So without further ado, let us embark on this real transition from closed source codes with no public distributions, which are restricting research progress, to openly available tools which will unlock the path to fusion. Thank you all for answering the call and contributing to this conference, OSSFE 2025. And let us all make this event a catalyst for change, a real beacon of collaborative success in the fusion energy community. Welcome to you all, and let the discussions begin.